Tonight, $85 million worth of food wasted in the Waikato. What is Swagfest Hamilton? And international educational collaboration. Kia ora and good evening. Welcome to Central News on TV Central for Thursday the 12th of March. I'm Amanda Harper. In today's news, new research shows $85 million worth of food a year is wasted in the Waikato, costing the nation nearly $900 million. New research for the National Love Food Hate Waste campaign launched today shows a significant amount of food is being thrown out by householders in the country. Waikato Regional Council's Waste Minimisation Facilitator, Mariana Tyler, says these figures indicate householders are spending far more than required on food and sending a lot more waste to landfills than they should, meaning unnecessary spending and placing unneeded pressure on waste disposal resources. Whole loaves of bread, unopened yogurts, uneaten apples are just some of the foods that have been found in audits across the country. Improving communication between sectors of the educational industry is a key finding from research conducted in New Zealand and around the world by POET researchers. Dr. Nadine Balaam from the Waikato University has more.
And one specific thing is that there needs to be a lot more communication between the different sectors, so a lot more talking about the child that is actually journeying through school.
When does it get to the point that you actually put these findings into practice?
Well, to a certain extent, some findings are already being put into practice. So each country has got a big research project that is externally funded and often by government bodies. So they're really interested in the findings from that research to inform educational policy, for example.
Dr. Balaam is part of the New Zealand team of a 3-year collaborative partnership between the University of Waikato and 4 other international universities. We will have more about the Pedagogies of Educational Transition project later on in the show. Police have issued a warning about dealing with strangers over the internet after a man was robbed at gunpoint earlier in the week in the Waikato. Detective Russell Crawford says the authorities were alerted to the incident after a distraught man flagged down a passing patrol car on State Highway 3 in Otorahanga shortly after the incident. The victim had driven up from New Plymouth to purchase a motorbike he saw for sale on Facebook. He arranged to meet the seller at the 5 Crossroads shops in Hamilton, but when he arrived, the seller advised him to go to a Gordonton property. When the victim arrived, he found himself confronted by 2 men, one threatening him with a firearm. Russell says the victim was understandably traumatised by what happened, with the offenders making him lie on the ground and threatening to shoot him several times. The pair took the victim's money he had intended on purchasing the motorbike with and fled in a getaway vehicle driven by a third offender. And now for our region's weather. Hamilton, cloudy periods, chance of a shower, light winds, 26 high and 12 low. Rest of the Waikato, mostly the same, showers and easterlies. Paeroa, 25 high and 14 low. Matamata, 24-14. Te Awamutu, your high is 26 and 12 low. And Tokoroa, 23-12. Tauranga, cloudy periods with light winds, chance of showers. High of 24 and low of 17. For other parts of the bay, light winds and prepare for possible rain. Te Puke, your high is 23 and an overnight low of 15. And for the marine forecast, on the west coast, Raglan, variable 10 knots. Easterly of 15 knots developing this evening, sea slight. Southwest swell of 2 metres. High tide is at 16:01. East coast, Bay of Plenty, southeast 15 knots, turning northeast for a time in the afternoon. A few showers. High tide is at 1:02 p.m. Coming up, families travel further afield. Welcome back to Central News. I'm Amanda Harper. As travel becomes more affordable, families are choosing to travel further afield to more exotic locations. Carol Sutton tells me more.
Oh, well, the fastest growing category is definitely families that are travelling on cruise. That's really opening up to us.
Yeah. What is appealing about cruises to Kiwi families?
I think the inclusiveness of cruise. So it's not only your accommodation, it's your transportation, it's your entertainment. We've got fantastic ports of call every day. So it's actually just, and it's when you're not having to factor in food, like that's a really big inclusion, all your meals.
And whereabouts are Kiwi families venturing off to?
Well, we're finding that they're venturing further afield. We've got clients now going up into Alaska, which is a really great environmental opportunity for clients to actually be going up into that wilderness area. We're going across to the Mediterranean. Again, we've got some fantastic ports of call, like all of Europe grew up around the waterways, so that's exciting. And of course our South Pacific and Australia will always be a big growth region.
But isn't that quite a big commitment, travelling with children to places like Alaska and the Mediterranean?
It is, but I've got 4 children of my own, and actually it's a really neat way to actually travel. Like you're actually in a very, very safe environment. As I say, you're not packing, you're only unpacking once, you're hopping on board, you're unpacked for the week. The kids love it, and it's a great way to travel, to see a lot more in a short time.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the options to keep the kids entertained on cruises?
Well, again, as we come on board, we say to our kids, we'll see you at dinner time, because there are so many things to do. The cruise lines are now, they've got ice skating rinks, rock climbing walls, there's fantastic kids clubs on board that cater for all age groups, whether it's teens or little children. They have their own cocktail parties, their mocktail parties, of course, but so much to do.
So the kids love it?
The kids absolutely love it. Most years I cruise with my children just because of the affordability and also the areas that we can actually get to via cruise.
Okay. Now back to the Alaska cruise, does that involve going inland?
It goes up the inside passage, so you're going into some very neat ports of call. Juneau is fabulous. This is where people have the opportunity to do kayaking. You can actually go on wilderness safaris to actually see wildlife, whether that be bears, the salmon, all of those sort of things. And of course, it's like New Zealand on steroids, beautiful scenery. So it's, you know, it's inaccessible by road. So what a terrific way to get up into the Alaska interior.
Yeah. And would you say that cruise operators are starting to offer more family-friendly options?
They are definitely getting more innovative. They're actually pushing the boundaries with what they're actually putting on board cruise lines, and this is specifically for this market. Again, we didn't even talk about the Caribbean, but we've got some fantastic ships in the Caribbean that have got all sorts of new activities for children.
Yeah. And cruises, they have kind of been stereotyped for older generations. Is that changing?
Very much so, and I mean, I'd just like to endorse that, because that's the first wall that I come up when I start talking to people, that they actually feel that it's for the extremely wealthy and the very old. So untrue. We've got a different product for everyone, different products, different prices, different destination. Cruising is for everyone.
Yeah, and will this bring down the prices of cruise?
We're definitely seeing that. There's a very competitiveness within the cruise market, like that they're all vying for our business. And in fact, cruising is, I mean, you can cruise for under 100 New Zealand dollars a day, depending on where you're cruising. So for an inclusive product, that's fantastic.
And what would you recommend for a family?
It just depends at the age where the children are. But I do believe that the Mediterranean really does open for the teenage children to get into destinations such as Italy, Rome, the Santorini area. That's absolutely beautiful, the Greek islands, south of Spain. You know, these are places that we read about when we were children in the history books, and now our children have the opportunity to actually go and feel and see, and there's nothing like doing that as opposed to reading a textbook. What
an enriching experience for any kid. Now this weekend is an event not to be missed in Hamilton. Swag Fest takes over the Meteor Theatre on Saturday night. Manny and Harms from Te Ahure explained to me what Swag Fest is all about.
Swag Fest is an event that comes from Hamilton, inspired by the older brother Dujon. Pretty much he saw this concept happening in Australia, Sydney, where he had all styles of dancers coming together and kind of battling off. And he was real intrigued. He bring it back here. He got a chance to actually go back overseas and battle. So he was like, hey, let's try this, and we'll do a fundraiser. So we did an all-style event, which means we had all different styles of dancers come along, and they all battled off pretty much to a DJ playing random songs. And since then, we've had 5 more, and we're about to do our 6th one now.
Yeah. So they battle each other with non-choreographed routines? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Because there's a lot of competitions in the country that have got criteria for stuff. There's a lot of 5, 6, 7, 8 dancers to music. I've been practicing for months.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, you've got it locked down.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and there isn't.
In
Yeah.
their
No,
own
not
way.
at all, yeah.
But
what
we
you
just
guys
want to
are
bring
doing-
some of their spontaneousness back and
Yeah.
And encouraging just like random expression, like
Yeah.
you know, you don't have to kind of be in a routine. You just feel the music and just
Yeah.
dance, you know, and that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. And certain dancers only dance to certain music. And so it's good to chuck on a reggae song to someone that does popping, or
Yeah.
put a funky song on to someone that does like whack dance moves and stuff.
Yeah.
Just changing it up. Just changing it up.
man.
Yeah.
And is there a lot of talented dancers in Hamilton?
Oh yeah. There's not only Hamilton like draws the crowd, but you know we have dancers across the whole nation coming
Yeah.
down, and you know respectful in their dance forms. You know we got the top crumpers, we got whackers, we got lockers, poppers, we got breakers. You know we've got urban dancers, freestylers, anyone pretty much you name it that come. But yeah, in Hamilton especially, there's a growing dance scene.
man.
It's kind of coming back.
Yeah, for sure.
So pretty much this is an event not to be missed.
No,
Nah, man, I would say hell no. It's real cheap, you know, it's like
Yeah.
$5 on the door.
$5, yeah.
We always have prizes and stuff for kids and parents.
So it's family friendly
Yeah,
event.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
It's 7 to 10, so we're making it more family orientated.
Yeah.
We've trialled a few. They've run really late, so you know we're very family orientated ourselves. So
Yeah,
we're just trying to make it cool for everyone to come. Really, yeah.
Yeah. And so how many dance crews are there?
Yo, pretty much we have, in terms of the battle, we have a pool of 16 crews that battle off each other. But on the night, there could be more than 16 turn up, so we sort of
yeah.
might have some
Yeah.
little pre-battles or
So they don't have to
pre-ciphers.
register before the event. Like it's good if they
Oh
do.
well, we do.
but-
Yeah, we've got 16 like that are registered. You know, 16 crews of 3.
Yeah.
They're all going to battle off. But yeah, obviously there's going to be additional dancers that come, and that's when they can just jump in the competitions, or like we've got a DJ in the foyer. So I mean, you
Yeah.
turn up, you can have a boogie down. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of just a space so you can get down anywhere.
Yeah. And when is it?
It's on
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah, it's a Saturday, 14th of March at
Yeah.
the Meteor, which we wanted to keep it there because the Meteor is a great venue space for Hamilton City.
Yeah.
So much events have happened there. We almost lost the Meteor, so it's so cool to still be able to
That's
go
right,
back there
yeah.
and run events in it.
And how many people can the Meteor actually hold? Because it sounds like there's quite a lot of people
I
coming
think like
along.
I think max capacity is about 400,
Yeah.
mid 400.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I mean, would be happy with any people that come through the doors, pretty much.
Yeah.
Whether you're here to
Yeah.
watch or just check it out, or even come and just enter. You know, it's
Yeah.
cool. Come along.
Yeah, there's no age limits either. Like some of these crews of 3 are made up of like a primary school kid, a teenager, maybe
Yeah.
a young adult, or just some young primary kids could put in a team, and which is cool. We're just encouraging anyone and everyone come for boogie.
So this Saturday at the Meteor Theatre.
Yep,
in
you can
Hamilton.
catch us there. We'll be
Yeah.
rocking out. Boogie
Nice.
on.
A family-friendly event showcasing some of New Zealand's finest hip-hop dancers and more. Stay with us after the break, Dr. Nadine Balaam. Welcome back to Central News. Educational researchers from Waikato, Australia, Scotland, Sweden and Iceland are coming together next week at Waikato University to discuss and report on influences that impact pedagogy.
Probably the easiest way to explain it is that the team leaders of each country found that they were going to the same sorts of conferences around the world and got to know each other, obviously, knew of each other's work as well, because all of them are quite well known in the field. And they decided, well, you know, let's get together and do something. So it was, I think, 2011 or somewhere around there. They were at a conference in Portugal and they hid themselves away for a few days in an apartment together and dreamed up this collaboration, basically.
So essentially they all became mates and then thought, hey, let's put our intellect and research and knowledge together. And
Yeah, or professional mates, I guess, in a sense, because they're sort of, what drew them together was the focus on educational transitions.
yeah. Now, when did you come on board?
Well, POET is about emerging researchers and experienced researchers, and our team leaders are all experienced researchers. I was dragged in as an emerging researcher, so at the time that POET started, I had just finished my doctorate and have have only recently really started on my academic career. So I was asked if I was interested in being involved, and jumped on board, and it's just been amazingly beneficial for someone at my point in my career. So yeah, being able to work with people so much more experienced, and that's, I guess, a benefit of the collaboration as well.
And what was your doctorate on?
My doctorate looked at gifted and talented young people from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and so what I've done now is linked educational transitions with that. So I'm about to start a project that's looking at gifted children moving from the last year of primary school through to secondary school, and children from a low decile school. So just to see sort of, what assumptions are made about them in terms of stereotypes about low socioeconomic communities and families and children and things like that.
So educational transitions is one of the key focuses of POET.
Yes.
So what does that actually mean?
The key educational transition that is being looked at is the transition of children from early childhood into primary school. But the New Zealand team in particular has a much broader focus. So we have researchers in our team who are looking at, or for example me looking at that older age group of children, but we also have people looking at people moving from secondary into tertiary settings, for example. So educational transitions in the sense that it's a journey through part of or all of a person's sort of schooling phase of life.
Yeah. And why is it important to focus on these transitions, especially the one from early childhood to primary school?
Well, it's important to focus on it, I guess, firstly because there's been an emphasis in our educational policy recently that it's an area to be looked at, and essentially because what we're learning is that the more we look at this and make the journey between different settings smoother and get people talking, early childhood, primary, intermediate, secondary, tertiary, professionals talking to each other, then there's more success for learners down the track, so more successful outcomes for children and young people.
We will have a more in-depth interview from Nadine next week on Central News. This week, Hilary has brought you a series of interviews from the Tauranga Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, it's about business confidence and the improvement of unemployment rates.
Things are improving indeed. It goes back to that size and scale of the businesses locally. The bigger the business grows, the more capable they feel, the more confident that they're here, that they've got a long-term environment, they'll improve their employment. Certainly through the GFC, you found companies trimming all of their sales. They reduced any spare staffing. They really were running on minimum and getting through or getting by. That feeling of optimism has changed, so they're starting to look at employing more people again and having confidence that they'll be here, that they won't sort of hanging on by the skin of their teeth. So that's really shown the employment, and it's wonderful to see.
Is it false optimism?
No, I don't believe it is. I think we've actually, the sense, of course there's some problems around the dairy payout, but particularly in the Bay, that's not nearly as relevant to us as it would be in the Waikato. It is still a problem because it does impact on us, but the kiwi fruit industry has recovered beautifully, is growing really, really well, is much more resilient than it was previously, and that is a large part of our economy. Logistics are huge to us now. They're becoming a really big part of our economy. And in fact, if you look at the bridge, a truck movement every 38 seconds, that tells you a lot about what's going on. And that's always a good sign of the economy. If you can see those trucks rolling in and into the port, you're thinking things are great, things are working.
Profit and selling prices are expected to increase?
Yes. And when you talk about selling prices, I think it depends on which commodity. There are some areas in the economy that are struggling, have probably not found their way, and retail would be one of those. And I think this is across retail across the world. What does retail look like now? I can buy anything, anywhere online. I can buy out of Hong Kong. Those companies that are selling online freight forward or make my freight free, and then they offer a really great service, and often you get it within days. It's not like you have to wait months for it to arrive on the ship. So retail is still struggling. I think they have to find their new place. What is retail? And you see those businesses that you can't buy that product online really ramping up now. Like I can't get my hair cut online, or I can't eat online. I can buy food online, but I can't go out to eat online. So those businesses are doing exceptionally well. The ones that it's a commodity-based thing, they're struggling. But definitely profits are up in companies. Slowly, it's good, slow, steady increase in profits.
Could this be the beginning of the end from the fall from the GFC?
Definitely. I think New Zealand has recovered really well from it. It was great to see us win on Saturday against the Australians, who are struggling with their economy. But I definitely think that this is the beginning of the end of the GFC. Did we learn the appropriate lessons? Well, we'll just wait and see for the next failing, because it seems that we don't.
What are your predictions then for the next 5 years for Tauranga?
For the Bay, what I predict in the Bay, I think you'll see the CBD change its complexion completely. I think you'll get a strong sense of confidence that you will see the tertiary precinct being up and running, and will help enormously around that research capability. So those companies that have strong research and development, they will start to look at Tauranga as an option. I think you'll see house prices rise. That will cause us a small problem around housing affordability, where people who work can't necessarily afford to live here or buy a house. I think you will see an impact of an ageing population around our workforce particularly, and but generally I think you will see a really positive Bay of Plenty.
For information on how the Chamber of Commerce can help you, visit tauranga.org.nz. That's it from me. To stay up to date with all that we do, like us on Facebook, search centralnews.tv. Also, I'd like to thank our viewers for watching Central News. We are all about covering stories within the diverse communities that make up the Waikato and Bay of Plenty. If you think you've got a story lead for us, email news@tvcentral.co.nz. We always love to hear from you. I'll be back on screens tomorrow night with more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. I'm Amanda Harper. Have a good night. Ko Marie.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.